name is Hadungs, and this is Chapter 2 of Module 1 for the Anamorphic Cookbook. On this video, we're going to look at why anamorphics boost production value. In Chapter 1, I went over how the cookbook is going to play out, so check that out before moving forward. The whole first module is being shot on Atlas Anamorphics, as they are the ones allowing you to have this content for free. You do get a better deal out by being a member of the channel, so check out the specifics by clicking the join button below. If you're not a member, there are several videos that you can unlock right now. We're gathered here today because anamorphic is a big deal for us. The word cinematic is the first one to get thrown around when the general public talks about anamorphic. Surrey's tagline for the launch of their 50mm anamorphic lens was "Cinematize your shots." Whatever cinematize means. They later on changed that to express your cinematic side. You can still find the word cinematic 6 times on their page as a key selling point. Using that as a clear example and a bit of overselling, when we think anamorphic, we think cinema. We think film look. The experience of going to the movie theater comes to mind. Getting ourselves immersed in a story for a couple of hours, forgetting the world around us. Bliss. So by seasoning our images with a dash of film look, or making our stories more cinematic, puts you in the same league of production value as the films you and I and everyone else goes to watch in theaters. When Hollywood started using anamorphics in the 1950s, it was all about making the screen bigger. Twice the size, to be precise, and covering the audience's peripheral vision with more of the film setting, increasing the immersion. If you look at what the audiences had to say about widescreen, it's always about how the screen is huge and how they felt as if they were right there, inside the story, taking part in its development. Joe McDonald, cinematographer for The Sand Pebbles, said when coming out from early CinemaScope test screenings, "People will see things they've never seen before. When you look at CinemaScope, it's like taking off blinders. It gives all the three-dimensional feeling that people want." The screen size was matched by stereo sound, amping the immersion component by having sounds coming from all parts of the screen and not only the center. We're gonna go a little deeper into the origins of anamorphic and how it changed films forever in the next chapter. For now, we're talking about the subconscious effect anamorphics have on you and your audience. Alright, the size of the screen is a pretty big deal, and that was only possible because the anamorphics were expanding the camera's original field of view through the squeeze. So I'll focus into what other characteristics of anamorphic lenses were baked into the audience's minds over the next 50 years in such a way that when we think of anamorphic now, we have all these qualities associated with the film experience, not home video or TV. Dan Sasaki, Panavision's VP of Optical Engineering, breaks down the anamorphic look into 5 pillars. And that's a great way to get started here. The first one of the 5 pillars is bokeh, and that's a pretty obvious one. Anamorphics have a noticeably oval bokeh, as opposed to the circles created by spherical lenses. This look gives the out-of-focus areas an almost paint-like quality, if someone dabbled the paintbrush over that part of the picture, creating a greater degree of separation between the subject and the background. This quality is also called the waterfall bokeh, and we'll look into why it happens at a later module. The second pillar of the anamorphic look is the disproportionate breathing. Due to the squeeze factor, we end up with different magnifications in each axis. For example, when using a 50mm anamorphic lens, you have the magnification of a 50mm lens on the vertical axis and the magnification of a 25mm on the horizontal axis. What happens when you rack focus is you get a unique type of lens breathing where the image seems to extend or contract much more strongly in the vertical axis, drawing more attention to the elements that are being focused. The third pillar is the one that's both most hyped and criticized. Lens flares. Anamorphic lens flares are such a big deal that they're emulated in film's post-production, in animation, and cartoons, and even video games, often to make it feel more real. The flares we're most familiar with are the blue horizontal streaks, which started with Panavision's C series, one of their oldest and still in use series of lenses. Remember when I said that these things have been baked into our minds? C-series have been around since 1968, and as soon as we think of anamorphic flares, these are the ones that come to mind. Not golden, not green, bluish purple. We'll go deeper into flares later on, but it's important to know that they're a key aspect to the anamorphic look. The fourth pillar is magnification and perspective. Due to the different magnification in the horizontal and vertical axes, we end up with a more natural perspective because we're not using such a wide angle and a close-up framing to tell a story. Anamorphics allow us to see the characters up close, get a good sense of their surroundings, and still keep the two things separated. Also thanks to the waterfall bokeh that we just talked about. When shooting scope, the focal lengths and angles are more natural when compared to a matched framing in spherical. In spherical, we need a much wider lens, meaning not only the depth of field is much greater, the perspective lines are stronger, making the image look distorted. The character's shape feels unnatural from having a wide-angle lens so close to them. Many believe anamorphics are made for big outdoors and epic shots, but they can also create a strong, intimate scene. The reasoning for this is the tighter depth of field and more natural perspective contribute to making the characters feel isolated from the rest. With larger sensors such as full frame and medium format, the perspective lines are even less angled, the magnification is more natural, and the depth of field feels like what we get from our eyes. Anamorphic photography was also called poor man's 70mm in the past, as it delivered similar results to 70mm film while still shooting Super 35. The fifth and final pillar of the anamorphic look is an organic focus roll-off. As Jay Holben explains in his Secrets of Old Glass presentation, digital sensors don't have the imperfections of film. This type of perfection, combined with sharp spherical lenses and shallow depth of field, sometimes leads to the feeling that the elements in a shot have been cut and pasted onto the background. Anamorphic focus roll-off helps blending in focus and out of focus areas. The focus roll-off smooths how our eyes transition from the subject to the background, countering the cut and paste feeling that we have from clean sphericals. I'm sure you've said something like, "Oh, that lens is too clinical," or heard someone complain that modern lenses feel sterile or too clean. Anamorphics suffer from many artifacts such as spherical aberration, chromatic aberration, astigmatism, all to be further discussed later. And these artifacts make up the depth cues our eyes perceive in a real-life situation. These cues allow us to switch focus from one element to the other smoothly on a flat 2D image, the screen, without feeling anything has been pasted onto the picture. In the end, many of these pillars are subconscious effects. To give you an example of a subconscious effect, if I just slapped some black bars on the top and bottom of this frame, this already contributes to a more cinematic image, although technically now you have less image than you had before. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm sure that you can see what I'm talking about. With the constant changes in gear, cameras, and lens making technology, anamorphics have withstood the test of time and are still all-time favorites. No one wants to explain all of this all the time, and most audiences don't even grasp at how these characteristics affect their perception of the images we make. So everything ends up inside the umbrella term cinematic. One thing we can be sure of, this different perception of the images is what leads to a higher production value. By displaying all of these pillars or traits of anamorphic, when people see your films, they think of other great looking films and stories. They think of Star Wars, Blade Runner, Indiana Jones, and associate the feelings they have for those stories to the story that you are telling. Or maybe you should just get Harrison Ford. That's why anamorphics boost your production value. Oh, a lot of people also think Lawrence of Arabia, even though that wasn't shot anamorphic. It was just shot on 70mm and projected in scope. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. And the next chapter is about the origin of the anamorphic format. And I have some neat stories that you've never heard before. So make sure to subscribe and click the bell to get notified about the next video. Also a reminder, if you're a member of the channel, you get the full cookbook experience with more access, support, and material. To learn about it, click the join button under this video. If you got any questions, shoot them in the comments below and I'll get back to you. See you on the next one. Chitofahadungs out.